and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello and welcome to Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Bigfoot Live. I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, coming at you. In case you didn't know, I'm also the host of the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series and the Bigfoots of America podcast. So you can check those out on our YouTube channel, which is Bigfoots of America Michigan. You can go on there, see all of our current episodes. But if you want to be exclusive and see our season 3, which is going to come out January 1st, go ahead and be a gold member for only $4.99. But the platform is mostly free. Go ahead, tap on that button, subscribe, and like to our YouTube channel. Now, with that said, we're also on, as you can see back here and up in the corner here, the Channel 12 TV network. Now, the Channel 12 TV network has a bunch of different TV shows. If you want to get on there, you can see all of them. We're releasing all of our current episodes of the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series and the Bigfoots of America podcast show. And then, of course, you will exclusively first get season 3 of the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series on there as well. So yeah, hey, good to see everybody on here. Cheri, Radu, I see you there. Kimberly Jones, nice to see you. Mud Sniper, is that it? Good to see you on there. Mud Sniper. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So now we switched things up a little bit. We were on the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series and the Bigfoots of America podcast show private group, but the tech on Facebook, you had to do it on a profile. Everything here was backwards. Hopefully it's right side. Hopefully you guys can read this as bomb because it looks backwards to me right now. I'm going to have to double check on that. We'll double check on that. Hey, Cheri, do you know, is everything backwards on my screen? But we're learning as we go, so we need to get that worked out. But now, basically, we're going to be Facebook Live on my personal profile page. We're doing it through the StreamYard platform because it gives us more control. And so it's on my Facebook profile page, but also on our YouTube channel. And then next week, hopefully, we'll have it set up to be live on the Channel 12 TV network, live on Instagram, and then maybe Rumble as well. We just started our Rumble account. We've had it, but we haven't really focused on it too much. So maybe that's just a characteristic of lot that is backwards. We'll get that figured out. But anyways, so let's talk about a few things, a few reminders. 2026 coming up. Our big focus is going to be our town hall meetings that we're going to have in Traverse City and Monroe, Michigan. So if you want to come be in the audience, we're going to have all the information by March 2nd about that, but just plan that sometime probably we'll do one in September and one in October. We might do a third destination, which might be the Grand Rapids area. But if you've had a Bigfoot sighting, if you've had a UFO sighting, if you've had a ghost encounter, whatever might be your paranormal experience, come watch the show, and then also the audience will get a chance to come up to the mic and tell their own personal stories. If you heard anything about me, you know I've seen Bigfoot. let me clarify. I've seen Bigfoot through a camera lens. I've seen a fairy right in front of my face. And then in my living room years ago, I had what I would call the deal with the devil. Okay. So a lot of people out there, in fact, most people have had some kind of ghost or demonic occurrence, maybe a UFO sighting, a Bigfoot sighting. And now, oh my gosh, come on. Dogman is coming on strong, especially here in Michigan. So we're going to have those town hall meetings September, October, Traverse City, also Monroe, Michigan. If you want to be in the audience, we'll have all the details for that. But if you want to be a speaker, one of our speakers on the panel, get a hold of me. I'm going to have a couple of the eyewitnesses that have been on our episodes before, my longstanding friends. Of course, there'll be speakers there. But if you want to be a speaker at a town hall meeting, go ahead and email me and you can see it at the bottom of the screen here scrolling. Email me at bigfootsofamerica@gmail.com. And that way we can start getting everything set up for the town hall meetings. Now we've had one little bit of a change, which is a good. Because we are expanding so much, we have 2 pages out there. So you've got my profile page. Then you've got our private group, which is the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series and the Bigfoots of America podcast show. Go ahead, join, become a private group member on there. But we also have a couple of pages called Bigfoots of Michigan TV series and the Bigfoots of America podcast show. We are also releasing our season 1 and season 2 episodes on those pages. So go ahead and follow those pages so you can keep up with everything that's going on and get caught up before season 3 is released. Going through the announcements. Oh, we have a couple of questions for you folks at home. Looking to see if you want to go ahead and make a comment too. We're learning this new platform, so I want to see all the comments, get familiar with all of that. Let's see if I can do this. Hello. All right. Cool. I can get more familiar with that on how to use comments and responding to comments. Yeah, but I think this platform's going to be much, much better. We're out of our merchandise until 2026. Yes, I'm running behind. We've got a handful of you out there. I owe you cups, bumper stickers, and some t-shirts. I have not forgotten. I've got you a list on that. I'm waiting to get some shipping boxes, so that's going to happen. Getting out with James Lady. Hopefully this weekend, James Lady has an episode or 2 on the Bigfoot of America podcast show. So check those episodes out. But we're going to get out into the field with James Lady, he's from the Michigan Aboriginal Project. So if you get a chance, go to Facebook to the Michigan Aboriginal Project page or group and follow him on there. We're going to go ahead and film an episode with him. He has a lot of great audio on there. So big shout out to him. Some of the things we're going to deal with in 2026 is more of Dogman. Okay. We've got a slew of books here. If you're out there and you don't believe in Bigfoot, well, here's some books. Of course, we have our George Lunsford back there, Monsters of the World. I always talk about that. But I want to bring up a couple of other books today that we'll be talking about more in 2026. David Pilates, he's got the Hoopa Project. And he's also got, this was the one that really lit my fire right here. So these are books we recommend. If you don't believe in Bigfoot and you want the proof, get this one, Bigfoots, Wild Men, and Giants by David Pilates. It's a great book. Thinker Thunker out there. How to Find and Film Them. Bigfoot by Thinker Thunker. Then, of course, Paul Freeman, the Bigfoot Freeman Files right there. And then some of the other subjects we're going to deal with in 26 is Atlantis. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do an episode or 2 on that.
We're going to talk about the hollow earth. We're going to talk about things like the return of the gods. Are aliens just aliens, or are they the return of the gods? We're going to talk about the wormwood prophecy. Is a giant asteroid on its way, possibly, to hit the earth and bring in the end times? Also, if you're a biblical person, did you know that Mount Sinai, the real Mount Sinai, has been found? In my opinion, it has been. We'll also talk about like Noah's Ark and all of that. But yeah, 2026 is going to be a big or more of a focus on Dogman. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and bring in one of my guests today, one of our moderators, Cheri Radu. Come on in, Cheri.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So we're talking backstage, and you have brought up a book I have never heard of, and you blew my mind. And yeah, let's talk about that. We're talking about Dogman as well, that there is a spike in sightings, and you said it has a lot to do with the season of autumn. So yeah, jump into whatever you want to jump in. So let's get talking.
So as we were talking about that backstage, I was bringing Bryan up to speed on the activities that are happening around Traverse City and the reports that are being posted on Facebook in our group, which is Overheard in Traverse City and in surrounding areas of Wexford County and such. But there are a lot of reports of people posting and quite concerned and almost fearful of what they're hearing as far as screams and howls, and they're loud. A lot of people are commenting that they really believe that it is Dogman. It does become a little more active, it seems like, in the fall time frame, like within the September, October, November time frame, where we start getting a lot of activity up here. And it's interesting is the comments that people will post aren't necessarily all sarcastic and, oh, you're just, trying to make something out of nothing, and, basically just dissing the whole idea. They are more embracing the idea that it is Dogman. There are a few people that will actually post on the group page in response, saying that they've had their own encounters. So Traverse City seems to be a very hot spot for Dogman, especially from a legend point of view. Our legend goes all the way back to the mid 1800s by a sighting from a man, actually two men in Wexford County. They were lumberjacks, and they actually witnessed a sighting that was documented, and that's kind of what started the legend up in Traverse City and in this area of the Dogman. And then from there's been other encounters that have been reported all the way up to 2017. So, and still, if you look on these comments, they're even later, like in the 2020, 2021 timeframe, that are being witnessed. And one of the videos that I had actually witnessed on that group page was a woman that was walking alongside actually walking in front of a cemetery near downtown. And it's been reported several times in this area that this cemetery, they think it might have a portal in it. It's been seen by witnesses that there would be this bright light that comes out of the cemetery area. And all of a sudden they start to see these sightings. And what was ironic about this lady's sighting was she was just strolling along the fence, and all of a sudden she saw something charge the fence, and she took off running. And when she was videoing it, I saw the video. She was running, and it was, of course, jerking around and such, but you could actually see this thing run, and then it would go down on all fours to catch up with her and then stand up on its hind legs and run,
Oh my
and then go down. And the noise, the growling, snarly noise was just, it gave me nightmares. And after I saw that, and the comments to that post in Overheard in TC, it was finally taken down because there were so many witnesses that said I witnessed it. I was chased by it. It ripped the shirt off me, stuff like that from witnesses up here.
Wow.
So
Real quick, Cheri, want to chime in? Hey, thank you, Mud Sniper and Kimberly Jones. They both have told me that it looks right to you guys, because here on my screen, like the bomb and the Channel 12 and the Bigfoot's America T-shirt are all backwards to me. But you're saying that it looks right to the audience, and that's all that matters. Yeah, well, yeah. You figure, was it a year ago or 2 years ago that we had the Dogman sighting right down the street from here, church patron at the church I was attending, broad daylight, right in the parking lot, watching and staring at the guy cutting the lawn. And what's so amazing about that, it's just down the street from the Indian Fields Memorial Park, where back in ancient days was a Native American war, and so there's a lot of burial mounds in there. And but I just released today on the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series page Aaron Spencer's sighting, and some of his sightings were in that same area. So the paranormal activity all through Michigan is spiking, and what you're saying, Cheri, is a big concern if Dogman is spiking that much. So let's just chase these things, procreate, and the population numbers are going up. I had a theory, and I don't know if I talked about this, Cheri, recently, but I just started looking at everything, and I really think if you think about the Mayans and the ancient Indian civilizations, that when the Europeans first came over, the Spaniards, especially in Central America, came, they brought their diseases with them. And it wiped out a large percentage of the Native American Mayan type civilizations. Well, I believe it also put a dent into the Bigfoot civilization as well. I believe these creatures are human hybrids, and so they may be able to contract the diseases that we contract. And I think their numbers dwindled, and so they went deep back into the forest, into the cave systems to kind of hide out. Now, their population numbers are rejuvenating or maybe exceeding to be more than they ever were before. All right, we got a bunch of comments here. Let me check real quick. Dogman is very heavy sightings near Manistique, with especially the big forest. Okay, good to know. Much Sniper. He's going up there in March. Fantastic. Let me know if you want me to tag along. I would like to tag along. All right.
Well, Brian, and what I kind of wanted to add to the fact that this activity, like you mentioned, is becoming a lot more pronounced, is the fact that the legend states that the Dogman appears on the 7th year of the decade. So we're coming up to 2027, and if this is really going to be the time where we get our answers, it's possible that we got to prepare, you know?
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Whether you believe in the biblical narrative or not, I'm a big proponent that everybody has a free will. You can decide on your own what you know, the Bible even says, study to show yourself approved. So you're free. We're not going to tell you how to think here. But even if you're not a proponent of the biblical narrative, you should always be prepared. You know, things are crazy out there. I don't care if we love Democrats, we love Republicans here. I've always been an independent. I understand both sides. I always try to shut my mouth and listen to both sides. everybody's got to make their own choice, but it is always a good idea to be prepared. I've got a whole cabinet over here of extra food sources. I'm always telling my boys, hey, be ready. You got to be ready for 2-3 months out, have a supply. Let me see. Yeah, Jason Finch, you're going to send your address to me? Yes, by messenger. That's great, Jason Finch. I appreciate that. Oh, you don't know how to sit? That's okay. That is okay. Hit me up on Messenger, and we'll connect. Michael Gale. Cheri, we'll go ahead and talk about the UFO sightings and the book you're talking about in Traverse City. But here, Michael Gale, and first of all, I thank a lot of you eyewitnesses for being very patient with me. This is the example I always talk about. I was concerned about having enough material for 2 seasons. Oh my gosh, I have got more than I can keep up with. And so Michael Gale is another Bigfoot eyewitness who has been very patient with me. I'm going to get him on the podcast show. But Cheri, Michael Gale saw, when he was in the military, he saw a Sasquatch come out of a UFO. Okay. So I'm going to get his story, and that's all I want to say right now. But so there's a connection there. One of my other, Dawn Ellis, the Sasquatch she saw had the alien gray type eyes. It still looked like a big Bigfoot everywhere, but it had the alien gray eyes. So there are some connection there. Val Savala had told me there's a narrative out there that Bigfoots are from another planet, solar system, that they were dropped off here as workers to mine for the minerals for the aliens that would help propel their space, for all the minerals the aliens need, whether it be for their spaceships or their civilization. But that's another narrative out there. But Cheri, your turn. You're telling me about a book called, I'm all in the books. They got a whole library here. Coming up in 2026, we're going to talk about this book, Earth's Earliest Ages. We're going to talk about the Unseen Realm. These 2 books talk about a whole possible ancient civilization, a whole different age before mankind, where the angels and all these different type alien creatures lived on Earth and ruled planet Earth. And there's another book, real quick, called The Second Coming of Saturn. Who is Saturn? It's an entity that's coming back. But Cheri, tell me about a book. What's the name of that book again?
Well, this book I had learned about from my mother, and this was probably 40 years ago. She started reading a book because she was always into UFOs and such, and she always wanted to see one, never saw one her whole life. But she started reading a book called The 12th Planet. And not only did she start reading that, she also read it alongside the Bible because it seemed to coincide with a few stories that were mentioned. And this 12th planet is a hidden planet within our solar system that is assumed is where there is a civilization that are what they would consider our creator, or visitors that are our guardians, that also believe that that mankind was created by this civilization on this 12th planet.
Wow.
Yes, it's a very interesting book. It's very thick. It's a thick paperback book, but it talks about, and it really coincides with how things were made here, created, and how it aligned to the Bible. And so, I was a little kid then when she was talking about it. It fascinated me. So I was out packing some boxes and I found the book. And I was like, oh, I said, well, there's that book. So did this just land in my lap just because it was the right time and I'm ready for it? I have no idea, Brian. But I'm telling you, I remember the stories that she would share about this book. I have not started to read it because I like to read things for myself and take the information the way I take it, and learn from it. But this is the book, The 12th Planet. And I went out to try to find it, and it is out there. You can still find it on the on the book racks out there. So if anybody's interested, it might be a good read to understand what that's all about. And I'll tell you, it was fascinating.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then it's just on top of that, Brian, I was outside this morning at 4:30 in the morning because I take the fur kids out, to do their thing. And I look above my house and there's a UFO. It's sitting
oh,
there hovering. And this is like the fifth time now that I have witnessed this similar object in the sky above my house. And I'm only 4 miles from the Traverse City Airport, but I'm out in the country and it's dark out there. And it's not uncommon for the UFOs to kind of hang around those airports. Um, so I didn't think about calling MUFON or getting a report out because I just did not want to get involved in that right now. But just this morning, another one showed up and I watched it for a good 10 minutes. And I'm sure it was probably watching me.
yeah, and you're seeing people in Traverse City. It's more common up there than it is, more inland, like where well, I'm kind of close to Lake Huron. But my point is I think there's a connection with the
Yeah.
lakes.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree. I'm only
Michigan.
18 miles from the shoreline.
See, I think there's alien civilizations under the water. I really that's one of the places they're hiding out. Real quick, catch up with some of the comments here, Cheri.
Sure.
Oh, Jason Finch, thank you, brother. He says another fantastic show. Please like, share, subscribe to Bigfoots of America podcast show on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Jason Finch. I really appreciate it. Michael Gale, I see that you tried calling me today. Yes. We will contact and get your I'm catching up with the comments here, everybody. Oh, wait, Michael Gale is correcting me. He says, no, I've seen Bigfoot on my night vision goggles, and I have he was 5 foot away from a UFO in the military, and he has a video of UFOs and pictures. All right, my apologies, Michael Gale. Then maybe it's somebody else. There's another guy. Were you stationed in the Philippines, Michael? Let me know. I'm trying to figure out if you. I don't have all my notes in front of me, but trying to figure out all my notes. All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate all your comments. We are expanding this platform. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Cheri? That as I look through, okay, so here it is. I love this book. Everybody out there, I'm a book whore, whatever you want to call me. I'll always be old school. Yes, I love the internet, but for me, I like books because they're hard copies to the past. But I want to read this for a little bit, this little write-up about UFOs have been spotted in Michigan. While Michigan does not rank on the top 10 states with UFO sightings, there have been numerous reports of unidentified flying objects in the state. Back in 1966, a swarm of UFOs was spotted. On March 20th of 1966, a man named Frank Manor watched as a pyramid-shaped UFO landed in a swamp near his home in Dexter Township. Okay. Manor and his son Ron went to investigate the object. When they reached the swamp, they saw that the UFO was there and it was flashing with red and white lights. Authorities were contacted and went to check out the situation. When they located the UFO, it quickly took off into the sky. The police officers called for help, gathering a team of 40 or more police and local volunteers. As the officers continued to check out the swamp area, a few people saw flashing bright lights in the sky. One of the police also reported seeing a UFO that was bluish in color fly over his car. The search team reportedly saw the UFO being followed by 3 other UFOs. Oh my gosh, does that not sound like Close Encounters of the Third Kind? I always tell you, Hollywood has a connection to all of this. The CIA briefs Hollywood, and then Hollywood will make movies. All of the reported sightings drew the attention of Congressman Weston Vivian, Dr. J. Allen, blah, blah, blah. They spoke to witnesses. Hynek's explanation caused many Michigan citizens to be outraged. See, they keep trying to divert the reality of UFOs. So it just goes on to say how the government basically, yes, tried to cover up this particular sighting of UFOs. Yeah, so if you're out there, yes, Bigfoot is our bread and butter here, but we are going to listen to stories and promote your stories about any other kind of cryptids. You've heard me talk about the praying mantis man. I've got a picture of that somewhere here. But there are all sorts of cryptids out there, paranormal beings. And yeah, we want to talk about them and have people just really be more aware of their existence.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing I'm on now, again, Cheri, is mermaids. It's like all of a sudden all my fairy, I guess I've been so busy. It registered to me last week that, oh my gosh, I've had a fairy sighting. So now I'm back into that groove, and I've got author David Walker coming on the show again Monday. His book, I've talked about this time, Supernatural Cryptids, Return of the Nephilim. But, is our fairies, see if everybody can, are fairies a type? So the classification is called a siren, at least according to the biblical narrative of Genesis 6 and the book of Enoch, about the earthly women, if they got it on with these fallen angels, were cursed and they were transformed into what's called sirens. Now, I believe there to be different types of sirens, like this mermaid here. We know that's an eye picture, but you get the point. Maybe it said that some of them had wings, so why wouldn't those be fairies? All shapes and sizes. But author David Walker has got a write-up about fairy where some eyewitnesses in his book basically had the same kind of sighting that I did. So that brought a little bit of confirmation to me and helped me go, okay, I'm not crazy. Same kind of coloring, a bluish gray coloring, female in nature. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. So I got a question for everybody out there. And these are the questions I love to ask. And you can continue on. One of the questions is, what do you think Bigfoot likes to eat most? And we talked about this before. Talked about apples, pears, peaches, donuts, moon pies, bacon. These are all some of the things that we've talked about Bigfoot. Now, if you are just getting interested into the subject of it's Bigfoot, whatever, what are some of the questions that you have for us or for some of our eyewitnesses? Some of them that I wrote down, some of the standard questions, but I want to expound on these. Some of the standard questions are, okay, how tall was the Bigfoot that you saw? How tall was it? How big was it? What was the footprint size of the Sasquatch? What was the color? Was it male or female? Was it single or in a clan of Sasquatch? These are some of the questions that I know to ask, but what are some of the questions on top of these questions that you'd like to know more about? We want to expand on our show and keep the information coming. So yes, with that said, also, like I said, we've got so many different types of episodes coming. The old guard, the old fallen gods. We know that Greek mythology, we're starting to believe that some of those creatures were real. Minotaurs, cyclopses, satyrs, all this stuff. If you've got an idea, let us know. If you are all into mermaids and sirens, let us know. We'll get an episode with you put on. And then, real quick, Cheri, and then we'll talk more. These are some of the down. I have been stumped. Okay, if you look around in the studio, this guy, his name is Skinny. He was named after Malin Skinner III, whose middle name is Danny, so we call him Danny. But I just released his episode on the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series page. But so I named this one after Dan Skinner, the Bigfoot eyewitness and the wood carver. He made this, and I bought it off of him. But he's also made two others for me, and this one over here is a little Yowie. Well, I'm looking to name this little Yowie, and then also the big 7-foot Sasquatch up here. So go ahead, throw out some names in the comments, email me some names. If you win the naming contest, we will officially name them on one of the upcoming episodes. And then, of course, I do have a couple of coffee mugs and bumper stickers left. We'll send you out a care package as winners. So that's our little giveaway for today. All right, Cheri, I hit some of my bullets to talk about. Looking to see. All right, it's just me and you. I did invite Brenda Goodwin. Brenda Goodwin has an episode coming up in season 3, and I call it the Michigan Skinwalker Ranch, where she has had almost every type of encounter on her property. Her mother, and all of her surrounding neighbors have had so many encounters. So stay tuned for that episode to come up. But Cheri, you got a chance to go out with Brenda ago, and you guys think you may have had some activity. What happened there?
Well, we went out to it's a I would say undisclosed area for protection of the area as well as the beasts that might be running around out there. But we were up towards, up in the Leelanau County area. And
hey, hold on a second. I'm so sorry, Cheri. Nora chimed in. Hold on a second. Michael Gale, thank you so much for responding. It wasn't in the Philippines. I had you mixed up with somebody else. Your sighting, where you've got the Bigfoot on your night vision, was in Washington State. So Michael Gale, let's contact each other. Let's get you an episode made. You can also come on this Bigfoot live show in the future if you want to. Also, Nora says, and I love this, we threw out some things about what they eat. I love her response. Nora says, Sabe eat what we should eat. Exactly. Yeah. More foods, all these preservatives in our foods. All right, Nora is the first one to throw out a name, and the name is Ide, I-D-E. What is the meaning behind the name Ide? I'm writing this down, Nora, so thank you. All right, Cheri, go ahead, start over. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I forgot where I left off because there's so much going on. Honestly, I don't even know where I left. We're talking about so much. Anyway, we did go out. So Brenda and I did go out on a I would call it a private adventure. It was a local site that I had experienced activity at in the past, and you're well aware of it, Bryan. And we went ahead, and I don't go there with people. So this was, other than you, Bryan, I've never been back. So
really?
Yeah.
No, you took Brenda. That's right. You took Brenda there. Okay. How's Tim doing, by the way?
Very good. And I'll see him tomorrow. So I'll tell him that you said hello.
Go ahead.
So anyway, we went, I had a strong sense that I needed to bring Brenda there. And so I asked her if she would come up and join me so I could share some information over there as well about the area. It was a good day. It was a quiet day, so it wasn't crazy weather or anything. And when we arrived at this particular place, it was a forgotten, in the past, it was a forgotten Indian burial site that was discovered about 4 years ago, that the Historical Society decided to bring respect back to it because it was abandoned for so long that their markers were all made of wood and they were decomposing. So they decided, the Historical Society decided, let's go and renovate it and bring honor to these folks. And so I'm laughing right now, Bryan, because every time I get on this show, we have activity here in the backyard, and my dog is out ready to go crazy right now. See, so sorry about that, Zoe. No. So anyway, we went to this. It's common, Bryan. Every time we get into this, it starts.
It's where I'm telling you, I don't tell people there. I have these 2 windows that you can look in on the podcast show. And anyways, I've had what I would call
Sorry. We
but
diverted. I'm sorry. So, anyways, we're on the site. We're right there on the site, and we just get out, and I hear this whoop, and I was like, Brenda, did you hear that? And she's like, I think so. And so I was like, well, just, act nonchalant. And so I walked her through the site and gave her history and understanding of what had happened during that time. And we walked the whole site, this whole area, and it's quite large. It's very secluded. It's on a bluff that overlooks Lake Michigan. And we start hearing whistles. And then I heard a wood knock. And I'm like, we're not alone. There's something going on here. So I just said, just keep kind of scanning the woods, don't don't focus, just kind of be aware of your surroundings. And it was such a beautiful fall day. It was full color, Bryan. So we're shooting photographs, right, of the beautiful colors and everything. Well, we get this photograph after we're just shooting colors, right, and landscape. We publish it. We're saying, oh, what a great day we had. We didn't talk about our adventure, but we just said, hey, what a great day. I'm sorry, Bryan.
it's okay.
So we know. So we published this photograph, and all of a sudden, and I don't know if you remember Angie Elizabeth, but she saw the photograph. She goes, well, you caught Bigfoot, or you caught Dogman. And we go, really? And she blew up the photograph, and lo and behold, we see a what looks like a face in there, and in the woods. And I was like, holy smokes. And then you could kind of see the shape of the snout sticking out, because it kind of had a 3/4 turn to it. And I was like, I really just don't want to assume that that's what it was, because it was so far off. So I wanted to go back to the area and make sure we didn't capture anything that would have resembled that by accident. So I am going back and investigating the area, because I don't like to just say, hey, it is, without really knowing, or if there's, evidence, there could be evidence there. But the location of where this occurred, it does coincide with the legends of the Potawatomi. And we were very near that area. And how they said that how Dogman was created. And that's the area we were in. We were on site there. So with the tribe.
Has a narrative too about how the Dogmen were created. And yeah, no, actually, Cheri, big shout out to Angie Elizabeth, because
Yeah.
Angie Elizabeth, she's taken a lot of guff from some of our subscribers and all of that. But Angie needs to know that she was a catalyst for me to start thinking about these creatures, these beings, in an interdimensional way. More about them being able to transcend beyond our physical reality. So big shout out to Angie Elizabeth for putting herself out there for our show. I can't commend her enough or thank her enough for the narrative that she's brought into it to help broaden our understanding. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. I learned so much from her. And the evidence of her pictures are amazing, with the footprints of Bigfoot and the Dogman walking side by side. And, that's amazing. So
Yep.
that, I mean, even there, that they can commingle. A lot of believers thought that they were, combative. In some cases, she kind of proved that they're not. They
Oh,
can
right. Dogman encounter hangs out with the Bigfoot clan that she knows of. And is she described the Dogman that she has encountered to be more of a Spock, the TV show and movies, Star Trek. Well, Mr. Spock, she says this Dogman's personality is more like a Mr. Spock. So more intellectual, logical reasoning type of being. And that, I don't even know if I was ready to handle it back then, but I appreciate her truth and honesty. And I know she's left our private group, so shame on those people who have ridiculed her. Sorry she had to leave, but I respect her for that. I know she's still friends on my personal profile, so that's cool. But yeah, we do our best as moderators and me as the administrator to try to, if you're going to be in our private group and you're going to rip on our eyewitnesses, you're going to get blocked and deleted from all of our platforms. So I write your name down, and then I go through every platform and I delete and block you. So that's what's happening to you. Nora. So Nora had suggested the name Ide. I don't know if I'm saying that correct, if it's Ide or Ide, but I love this. She says, Ide, in my heritage, it means thirst, as in for truth and sustenance. So fantastic. I've got that written down. You are in the competition now. And I think I would lean, I might be more towards a little Yowie rather than the big guy, but we're gonna keep it on wraps for now. We've got you in the running, Nora. Thank you for your suggestion. Yes, fantastic. For some reason, this book has been on my mind today because, all right, so the Bible, let me throw this in there. The Bible says, I think I might get this verse right, I might get it wrong, but the idea is there. In a multitude of counselors, there is safety. In other words, if you're closed-minded and you're not able to get all the information, then you're really selling yourself short. So I always promote not just our show, because like I always say, you can't have Bigfoot, you can't have all these cryptids or UFOs without the eyewitnesses. So listen to what the eyewitnesses have to say, whether you agree with it or not. But so I've been thinking about this book a lot today. And what is this book? By David Pilates, Bigfoot, Wild Men, and Giants. These are the newspaper articles and very old news accounts of Bigfoot back in colonial days and when North America, at least, was started to being settled by the Europeans, of course, not the Native Americans. And we know that the Native Americans had relationships with these trading relationships, good relationships with some of the nicer Bigfoot. But one of them I want to read, see if I can find it here. Well, there's stories of giants in here as well. I'm looking for a particular one about a wild man. Hold on a second. So this has, David Pilates says there's 427 articles dating from 1680 to 1923. And there's a breakdown of all the different articles. Of wild men, 224. I think we'd classify Bigfoot as a wild man. Ape, gorilla, and monkeys as 24. Giants as 136. So that, before the word Bigfoot came about, or we coined that phrase from that one man's casting of the footprint, people referred to these things as giants or the wild men. Whoa. Here we go. I didn't mean to read this one, but check this out. This one is called The Farmer and Mechanic, August 8th, 1883. And it's entitled Beast or Human Being. A wild woman, not a man, a wild woman, or perhaps the mate of a gorilla, recently captured near Lafayette, Indiana. So these are the things that we're not able to have access to. You would know that one was captured and has appeared in Lafayette, Indiana, and had been terrorizing the people. Mrs. Frank Kaufman, the wife of a well-known farmer, saw it the other day and thus described it. Mrs. Kaufman was passing through the timber when she suddenly saw to her right a hideous creature formed like a woman with long black hair floating in the wind, and the whole body covered with short gray hair. The creature was breaking twigs from a sassafras bush and eating the bark. The noise made in breaking the bush prevented it hearing Mrs. Kaufman's approach. Frozen with horror, The farmer's wife stood and gazed on the remarkable creature before her. Suddenly, the wild woman turned and, facing her civilized sister, glared at her with a these old words, a baleful light of hate. Raising her long, hairy arms, she gave an unearthly shriek and darted away into the forest. Almost paralyzed with fear, Mrs. Cox gazed after the wild creature for a moment. Then, with agonized screams, she fired homeward. Her cries of fear attracted her husband, who was at work in the field, and he hastened towards her, reaching her side as her knees gave way with weakness resulting in mortal terror. He carried his wife to the house, gave the alarm, and soon 100 men were hot on the trail of the wild woman. She was hotly pursued and several times came near to being caught, but eluded her pursuers with wonderful skill and cunning. For fully half of a mile of the chase, she was never out of sight. Her feet, wow, listen to this. Her feet touched the ground, but seldom. So let's take that sentence alone, Cheri. Let's go back to the recent Monroe monster sighting just spring in Monroe, Michigan, between a father and a son. They were out there both on Plum Creek. What did they say? They could barely see the legs because they moved so fast, and this thing seemed to be floating along, and even their dog couldn't catch it. But that is akin to this sentence here where it says her feet touch the ground, but seldom. Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Goes on to say that this wild woman would grab the underbrush with her long bony hands and swing from bush to bush and limb to limb with a wonderful ease. She seemed only endeavoring to keep just beyond her pursuers until, coming to the swamp, she disappeared as suddenly and as effectively as an extinguished light, and no searching served to ascertain her whereabouts from that point on. Wow. That's crazy. And that's Indiana, just south of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Lafayette. I bet.
Wow.
Wow.
That goes on. I've talked about this before. I'm going to go back out to this location. I'm not sure if I can find the picture again. Praying Mantis Man. So, like I said, we're here. We mainly talk about Bigfoot, but also every so often a cryptid comes along, and we want to make sure we talk about these things. And this Praying Mantis Man, I'm not supposed to give out the guy's name, but there were two neighbors. One had come up over the railroad tracks in his truck, almost hit this Praying Mantis Man. I'm trying to find a picture. I know I showed it last week, but we're kind of on a different platform right now, and I want to make sure people know. We called it the Praying Mantis Man, but this gentleman came up over the railroad tracks. He said he was flying in his pickup truck, and he almost hit this thing, locked his brakes up, and then this thing jumped 30 feet in the air. So like this Sasquatch, this female Sasquatch from Indiana, and like our recent Monroe monster sighting, these things can just move out. They are so quick and fast, it's unbelievable. But this particular one jumped 30 feet, went and stood behind a 6-foot pile of brush, and that's how I kind of ascertain the size or the height of this thing. And then his neighbor saw it as well, and both of these gentlemen got their families packed up and moved away because they both had smaller children and didn't want to be near where this thing's at. And that, I can tell you, so I-75, I think it's called Davisburg, Michigan, is where this thing was sighted. Here we are.
Yeah.
Find it now. Hopefully I got a better picture than that. But we called it the Praying Mantis Man. And that is part of what George Lunsford called the insectoids. Hold on a second here. So that is one of its pictures in the snow right there. That is the size of it. We're at 12, 13, 14. We're going to go with a 15 to 16 inch footprint. And like Sasquatch, they're in a straight line. There's multiple footprints here, and they're in a straight line. So this particular insectoid walked like a Sasquatch in a straight line. That's a better picture of the footprints in a straight line. And then this is the original picture sent to me. So if you can see it right back here, and I'll blow it up a little bit. There is a pile of brush right here, and that brush is 6 feet tall. So you can see how tall this thing is. And let me blow it up a little bit. This will be good. So this pile of brush here was measured to be 6 feet tall, and that's the individual. So they figured anywhere from 7 to 9 feet tall. It had a rectangular head, and that's why they called it the praying mantis man. And so it jumped 30 feet, and my friend, who's a ex-Special Forces military, this is a guy who tells me he is 220 of solid muscle, almost 6 feet tall. He has trained with Green Berets, Navy SEALs. He said this thing scared the living daylights out of him. He said when this thing took a step, it broke through the ice. Okay, every step it took, it broke through the ice. And he said he jumped up and down on the same ice, and he couldn't break through it. So not only is this thing between 7 and 9 feet tall, but it's very dense, muscular. It looks like an NBA player. If you could see closer, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know why I haven't done that. There you go. There's a closer picture of everybody. It's very much like a LeBron James type physique. So
Wow.
very powerful. So everybody at home, there isn't just Bigfoot out there. There isn't just Dogman out there. There are these other creatures, few and far between. I've seen a fairy. You've got this praying mantis man type insectoid creature, 7 to 9 feet tall, Davisburg, Michigan, just west of I-75. I've been to that exact location. I plan to get out there again. So yeah, triangular head, man. Look up to what a praying mantis looks like. That's what they said its head looked like. These two gentlemen packed up their families and moved away from that area. All right, Michael Gale says a lot of military guys see different things. We get and they get involved with. They're very fast running in the forest, and we definitely can't do that. Good stuff, Michael Gale. All right, where are we at for time? Cheri, you got anything else you want to talk about, Miss Cheri? Thanks for hanging with me.
Sure. I'm enjoying it as usual. It's a great show.
Yeah, I always feel like there is so much, like, if you were to sit here at my desk here in the podcast room, there is all this cryptid information all over the place. And so I always want to make sure it gets all out there. Tomorrow morning, we get done with this show tonight, I'm going to go back to the editing room. I've got a podcast episode with Michael Webb. He's part of the Channel 12 TV network. He's the man between Monsters Unleashed. He's got a picture of a Sasquatch by the railroad tracks, which AI determined to be a North American Sasquatch as well. But yeah, so we're connected with so great people like you, Cheri. Gosh, has anyone? Why don't you go ahead? We haven't done a podcast episode yet. Episode is episode 1 of season 2. Why don't you, before we get off air, why don't you tell everybody about your initial Sasquatch sighting? And of course, you're a wonderful person, and that's why you're a moderator in our group. But yeah, go ahead and tell everybody at home before we get off the air what your Sasquatch sighting was like.
Well, it was surprising, that's for sure, because honestly, I'm Native American background, and we're from the West, or the Lakota Sioux, and I always thought Bigfoot was out west. I never dreamed they'd ever be in Michigan. So when I'm out on the beach, enjoying the beach and doing photography for the evening and walking along the shoreline on a peaceful evening, it's so quiet. And I finish up my photo shoots and I'm walking back, and lo and behold, there's a Bigfoot right there in front of me, about 30 feet, shaking a tree, growled at me, gruffed at me, I would say. And it's funny what your mind will do when you're trying to understand that this thing's real. Honestly, I never gave it a second thought before about them. And then 2 years ago, I'm now a believer, because how can I deny what I witnessed and experienced? And holy cow. And then ended up turning into a bigger, even bigger beyond that, was because of the mind speak, that we actually connected telepathically, and he had told me things that he wanted me to know, and then later on showed me. So I'm being very cryptic right now myself, and trying to share what the details were in it, because I want people to go to the episode and really, really watch it. And matter of fact, that episode, Brian, you know very well, was only almost 3 weeks after my encounter, and I was still a little
You were
touched.
shaken, and I love it as a producer and TV maker, because your sighting was so recent, and then right there on the spot, I'm like, well, if that's where the Bigfoot was standing, we should have a footprint at least. Go right there and find a footprint. So yeah, with that said, everybody at home, if you get a chance, go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bigfoots of America Michigan. And Cheri Radu's episode is episode 1 of season 2. So, hey, we're going to wrap it up for Bigfoot Live here on a Friday night. Hey, everybody, we're doing this every Friday night at 8 p.m. So, like Cheri Radu as our little guest eyewitness moderator friend was the person and guest on our show tonight. If you want to be a guest on this show, go ahead and email me at bigfootsofamerica@gmail.com, or get a hold of me through Messenger, and we'll line some you to be on Bigfoot Live or to record a podcast episode. So, everybody at home, Cheri, you got any last words for everybody?
Hey, probably just have a great night and don't have any nightmares.
After everything we talked about tonight,
Exactly.
now we feel like we never get a chance to talk about as many things as we have to talk about, but that's okay. There's always next week. All right, Cheri, we'll see you later. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for next week. Bigfoot Live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday nights. See ya.
See ya.